Good afternoon, everyone. Sound check. You hear me okay? Good. Thank you so much for joining us in this event, very, very important event. My name is Ali Abu Saba. I'm the CGIAR Regional Director for Siwana, and I'm also the Director General for ICARDA. I would like to invite Dr. Claudia Sadov, who is the Executive Managing Director for the CGIAR. Dr. Claudia is Managing Director of the CG. She leads a global network of about 9,000 staff, of which 3,500 scientists, development experts, and practitioners, all dedicated to generating game-changing research that aims to reduce rural poverty and increase food security. Claudia has a distinguished career at the World Bank and now at the CGIAR as a senior leader, over 20 years with the World Bank. She was also former director of the IMI Institute. Claudia, over to you. Join me with the Claudia. Welcome, Claudia.
Secretary, Honorable Secretary Thomas Vilsack, U.S. Department of Agriculture, Honorable Minister Al-Mahari, the UAE Minister of Climate Change and Environment, ministers in the room, distinguished guests, I welcome you all. There we go. Good afternoon to everyone. It is really an honor to be hosting this Aim for Climate Roadshow event, co-hosting here with the Farm Journal Foundation. This event that it focuses very much on accelerating investment for smallholder agriculture. I'd like to thank Secretary Vilsack and Minister Al-Mahari, Administrator Power, who will be joining us for this joint initiative led by the governments of the United States and the UAE, with so many other partners, including the CGIAR. COP is a very unique event, isn't it? It's an opportunity for all of us to get together each year and really unite to focus on people and the planet, to help mitigate climate change and to adapt to its negative impacts. In the many meetings that I have been going to this week, I've been seeing really three themes coming out of this year's adaptation COP. The first is that we need to move beyond rhetoric and move deeply into action. We hear it loud and clear from the young people in Sharm el-Sheikh. And for those of you having trouble hearing me, we have the youth pavilion right next to us, and we hear it loud and clear all day. They're looking at us, saying change is needed, please get started. And we hear them loud and clear. Secondly, we hear the need to invest. Despite the challenging environment, constrained budgets, and competing priorities, we absolutely must increase and not cut funding at this pivotal moment. What's exciting is that the Aim for Climate initiative really delivers on both of these urgent priorities. This extraordinary effort by the United States and the UAE has secured billions of dollars in commitments for climate adaptation research from governments, from the private sector, from philanthropies, and they've been pulled together in innovation sprints, some self-financed innovations, all for climate-smart agriculture. The level of ambition and commitment from Aim for C partners is an important and welcome step up, accelerating the adaptation for those that need it most. The third theme that I've been seeing since listening this week is really particularly relevant to the CGIAR, and that is the growing recognition that climate change and food systems are inextricably linked. We cannot solve one without the other. We know that if we stopped all fossil fuel use today, we could not meet the Paris targets without transforming our food systems. Investment in science and evidence-based innovations is key, both to transforming our food, land, and water systems, as well as tackling climate change. And that's why CGIAR, which is the largest Agricultural Research and Innovation Network is working with partners to develop and deliver the technologies that smallholder farmers need across the global south to adapt, to lower their emissions, and to thrive despite climate change. So I'm pleased to highlight just a few of the Aim for Climate Innovation sprints that demonstrate how CGIAR's climate expertise will be brought to bear. The first sprint focuses on what we call resilient soil fertility management. It builds resilience for smallholders by developing a range of tools and innovations for soil health, which is the root of prosperity and thriving farms, and the nutritious food that they provide. The second sprint is Agroecological Transition's Inclusive Digital Tools Project, which leverages the power of digital solutions for smallholder farmers, especially women, and includes tools that provide, for example, traceability, which is essential for small farmers who are seeking to expand their market access wider. A third sprint that I'd like to mention is the Pan-African Bean Research Alliance, or PABRA, which focuses on the creation of bean corridors to eliminate the production bottlenecks they face in their value chain, so that improved beans, which are rich in protein and nutrients and help heal the soil, can reach more consumers, and we can provide better access to farmers for better seeds for beans. And last but not least, climate-smart rice technology projects. This sprint works to accelerate smallholder farmers in adopting practices of direct seeding of rice, which is a very important innovation in the face of increased water scarcity and combating the fact that emissions arise from water-based planting. So it reduces greenhouse gases while helping to increase the productivity of our rice growing systems. So these sorts of sprints are really major prioritized areas of investment that we can bring capacity to from within the CGIAR on well-defined and large-scale challenges. So we're excited to be working with so many of you that are in the room today to drive impact for smallholder farmers globally. Let me stop there and enjoy the honor, colleagues, of introducing to you today our first speaker, the United States Secretary of Agriculture, the Honorable Tom Vilsack, and to thank you, Secretary Vilsack, for your leadership in global food and nutrition security.
Thank the Director for a kind introduction, and certainly want to thank everyone for inviting me to have this opportunity to join you today. Also want to express my appreciation to Farm Journal Foundation for organizing, as well as to CGIAR, FAO, and the Rockefeller Foundation for hosting this event and a pavilion focused on food. It's great to see more focus on the importance of food and agriculture at COP27. I think the current global situation underscores the need for all of us to unite behind common principles and to take action to end hunger and poverty, face the challenge of climate change head on, and build more sustainable, equitable, resilient food systems. Agricultural research and development are essential for creating solutions that indeed enhance productivity and efficiency, while also adapting to the challenges like COVID-19, water insecurity, the climate crisis, and conflict. Ambitious investment in climate-smart agriculture and food systems innovation will accelerate critically needed solutions, enabling the world's farmers, ranchers, forested landowners, and others to increase agricultural productivity and livelihoods, allow them to meet nutritional needs, conserve our natural resources, and build resilience while reducing emissions and sequestering carbon. Just recently, the USDA and USAID, with the able leadership of Administrator Power, who is here today, and she is the driver behind all of this, launched the Global Food Security Research Strategy, which outlines the critical role that research plays in sustaining and improving agricultural productivity, profitability, and resilient food and ag systems. This new research strategy focuses on 3 critical areas where science and innovation are essential to progress: climate-smart agricultural innovation, improved nutrition through high-quality, affordable diets, and genetic improvements for resilient crops and livestock. We know that adaptation is needed, and improving resiliency can significantly impact the impacts of climate change on our communities, ecosystems, and economies. We're already seeing the devastating impacts of a changing climate across the world, even at 1.2 degrees Celsius of warming, and we know that global emissions are still rising. Most, 84%, of the world's 570 million farms are less than 2 hectares in size, and many smallholder farmers are among the poorest in the world. Adaptation, action, and innovation to close the productivity gap are essentially important for smallholders, who are most vulnerable to the impacts of a changing climate. Investments in agricultural innovation for adaptation, including those that we have in partnership with CGIAR, will benefit smallholder farmers. Now, I'm pleased to be here today celebrating Aim for Climate's progress since COP26. And I might say a good part of that progress is the result of the leadership of Minister Al-Mahari here and her team at UAE. We've forged a very strong partnership, and as a result of that partnership, we've seen significant progress. So I want to personally thank her and her team for that partnership and support. And many of you who are here are climate partners, Aim for Climate partners. And to all of our partners, I want to say thank you as well. It's because of you that we celebrated a very successful first year by more than doubling the total increased investments in climate-smart agricultural and food systems innovation. We've seen our climate partners increase their investment to over $8 billion. We've more than tripled the number of partners since COP26 to over 275 partners. And we've also more than tripled the number of innovation sprints since COP26. There were 8 then, there are 30 now, 22 of which are being announced here at COP27, totaling an investment of over $1 billion. Aim for Climate Innovation Sprints focus investments to achieve measurable results in climate-smart agricultural innovation. One of Aim for Climate's innovation sprint focal areas is smallholder farmers in low and middle-income countries. This is meant to generate solutions for smallholder farmers at the intersection of global hunger and food security and the climate crisis. Let me give you a couple of examples of the innovation sprints that are currently working in this area. One of them is the Innovating Models for Sustainably Scaling of Smallholder Inclusive Agroforestry. This sprint plans to leverage over $50 million to plant 250 million trees by the year 2025 to enable on-farm agroforestry, which has proven benefits for income, agricultural productivity, adaptation, and mitigation on smallholder farms. Another is the Climate Resilient Soil Fertility Management by smallholders in Africa, Asia, and Latin America. This sprint brings together 22 participants with a planned budget of over $89 million to enable and empower small-scale producers in Africa, Asia, and Latin America to achieve effective and efficient nitrogen fertilizer management over the next 4 years. This happens to be the largest innovation sprint by the number of participants. Or the Climate Resilience for African Farmers through Next Generation Weather Intelligence. This sprint is pioneering an Africa-first innovation to empower 20 million smallholder farmers with next-gen location-based timely agri-weather services, building on established activities in Kenya to leverage over $80 million in private sector investment and $20 million in philanthropic investment to connect governments and local agricultural value chain partners with next-gen weather intelligence. This happens to be the second largest innovation sprint in terms of financial amount. Or the innovative and impactful-oriented delivery of climate-resilient bean varieties by African research networks. This sprint will mobilize $20 million to to empower seed systems actors to deliver climate-resilient bean varieties more efficiently to smallholder farmers in Brunei, Ethiopia, Kenya, Rwanda, Tanzania, and Uganda. See, innovation sprints are poised to be successful in part because they involve partnerships. They are built on partnerships. Public-private partnerships are invaluable in this effort, and I'm hopeful that we'll encourage more cross-sectorial partnership. That's why I'm excited to announce a new tool we're launching to make these partnerships a reality. The AIM for Climate Innovation Hub is a new virtual platform that will connect partners and the public, allowing them to centralize around common ideas and identify investment gaps, create opportunities, and accept challenges in climate-smart agriculture. This innovation hub, we believe, will invigorate critical conversations around climate-smart agriculture and food systems innovation, and provide cross-collaboration and information exchange. I'm encouraging our partners to participate fully and to engage forcefully in this innovation hub, sharing knowledge, information, and ideas. Absent adaptation, we all know that climate change is projected to reduce growth in global agriculture yields by as much as 5 and in some cases 30% by the year 2050. That's one of the reasons why President Biden established the Emergency Plan for Adaptation and Resilience, which we know as PREPARE. USDA is part of that effort, and we are anxious to expand existing international programs and initiatives working with USAID to support climate adaptation and resiliency among vulnerable countries and producers. In conclusion, I hope that you can see that AIM for Climate has demonstrated great promise in the areas of resiliency and smallholder support. And I hope that you're encouraged, as I am, by the potential outcome of innovation sprints and the deployment of key solutions in year 2 of this initiative. And I know that we all look forward to reporting on these initiatives and many others as we convene in the United Arab Emirates for COP28. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your intervention and for the very strong pledges by the U.S. And also the joint work with Minister El-Meheri on the AIM4C. Allow me now to introduce Her Excellency Minister Mariam bint Mohammed El-Meheri. Her Excellency serves as the current Minister of Climate Change and Environment of the United Arab Emirates. In this capacity, she spearheads the UAE drive to mitigate and adapt to the impacts of climate change. In this regard, Madam Minister, we thank you for your leadership of the Agriculture Innovation Mission for Climate, AIM4C, a joint initiative being led by the United States and the United Arab Emirates. Your Excellency, please, you have the floor.
Thank you so much. Well, the youth are really loud. I hope you can hear me. I want to thank also the Farm Journal Foundation, CGIAR, Rockefeller Foundation, and FAO. Thank you so much for convening us today. And Secretary Vilsack, I think he described in such a great way of what AIM4C is about and where we were at COP26 and where we are today with so much more that we want to do. And I really believe, because I'm a Minister of Climate Change, that food systems, knowing that they contribute to 1/3 of greenhouse gas emissions, that food systems needs to have a center stage when we talk about climate change. So I believe also that AIM4C is actually the only vehicle or big initiative that I've seen that's actually empowering partnerships, getting solutions, doing the matchmaking. And for those of you who don't know what an innovation sprint is in the AIM4C initiative, it's really a private sector-led drive to actually get a deliverable, an outcome, that are specified outcome for a certain subject. So we have, for example, IBM leading an innovation sprint. We have Crop One leading an innovation sprint. So we have then partners that come on board with the private sector to say, this is the outcome that we want. So I really Secretary Vilsack said already so many things in regards to smallholder farmers. We really want to make sure that Aim for C is an all-inclusive initiative, starting from the smallholder farmers, going all the way up to exciting things like cellular agriculture, novel foods, etc. And it's so great to see some of the initiatives that we've seen here today, some of the partners here that are talking about it. We had our first ministerial meeting in the UAE this year, and next year we'll be having it in DC, so I'm really looking forward to that. I'm really looking forward to more partners coming on board, because this really is, I say the COP process is one thing with the negotiations happening, but these are the kind of vehicles or platforms that we need more of, because this is really where the interesting discussions happen, the matchmaking happens, and we want to see more countries and more partners join. And if we see where we were at COP26 and being able to double the increased committed investments into this just showcases that there is a will, and it's so good to have this platform. And Secretary Vilsack mentioned also about the hub. This is where anyone can come on board and just listen, learn, share knowledge. And if there's anything that you feel this is an interesting topic we need to accelerate efforts in, please do come to us, speak to us about it, because we are one community here spanning so many stakeholders, and every country has different challenges and different resources. And this is why the food systems is actually so complex, and this is why we need such an enabling vehicle. So I thank you to all your partners, and I have to also say, Secretary Vilsack, it's been such a pleasure. Our teams are working great. We want to do great things together, and with our partners, thank you so much for joining us and making this a drive for food systems transformation. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Your Excellency. And I should also have said that UAE is a leader among the Arab countries in the sense that they bring the food security together with the climate change in one ministry. And we are really hoping that we see this model, replicated in other countries, because the sectors are so much connected and there is need for coordination. Also, to her credit, Minister Mariam hosts the CGIAR in her ministry. So thank you, Ms. Mariam, for that. Allow me now to introduce Her Excellency USAID Administrator Samantha Power. USAID Administrator Samantha Power is well known to many of us as an advocate for the voiceless across the globe. As a Pulitzer Prize winner, author, a professor at Harvard Kennedy School of Government, senior advisor to President Barack Obama, U.S. Ambassador to the United Nations, and now Administrator of the United States Agency of International Development, Administrator Power has dedicated her life to making our world a better place. Please join us on the floor. Thank you.
I'm learning from you how to speak into this microphone in a manner that can be heard. Thank you, Ali, for that generous introduction and for co-hosting this event with the Farm Journal Foundation. These two organizations share a belief in the power of agricultural innovation and research to fight global hunger, one we, of course, embrace at USAID. I also want to thank Secretary Vilsack. I really do think, Tom, that people are going to look back at these years as the inflection point when climate change and conversations about food security and agriculture came together, where that convergence occurred. But it's not gravity that is making that happen. It is individuals who are using their leadership positions to bring communities and programs together in a way that has been needed for a long time. And you have done that, and people are going to remember your tenure as Secretary of Agriculture as the inflection point in the U.S. approach. I'm sure of it. This session takes place, of course, against the backdrop of a grim development in the fight against global hunger. We have just recently received word that an unprecedented 5th consecutive rainy season has failed in the Horn of Africa. And we know, thanks to meteorology and science, that a sixth is likely to soon follow. Already 21 million people across that region face crisis levels of hunger, including around 300,000 who face famine levels in Somalia. I visited Somalia over the summer, late summer, and heard from farmers, as so many of you have as well, whose crops and livestock had shriveled, mothers who had traveled long distances to bring their children to malnutrition clinics, babies just a few months old born into hunger and too weak to cry. This food crisis, like so many others, finds its roots in climate change, which has dried out soils and plants and shifted rainfall patterns all around the world. Too often, the regions most prone to drought are also not only the least responsible for climate change, as we know, but also the ones least prepared to withstand it. To change that, last year in Glasgow, USAID committed $215 million over 5 years to CGIAR to advance innovations in climate-smart agriculture. Innovations that will help boost agricultural productivity in Africa and Asia by 25% by the end of the decade, and help 200 million people currently going hungry. The initiative, as we know, also focuses on smallholder farmers who produce nearly a third of the world's crops and food supply on just a quarter of its land, and yet often are the ones who lack access to this climate-smart technology and to these improved seeds that so many of our countries are investing such extensive thought and research into producing and into continually adapting. Last year, our first year of funding continued a collaboration with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the Foundation for Food and Agricultural Research to help farmers plant climate-resilient maize across 7 million hectares in Africa. In just 1 year, as a result of this support, smallholder farmers increased their yields by 25%. That benefited in just 1 year more than 44 million people. We have proof of concept. We know what works. It is a question of scaling it. This year's funding, 43 million, will go toward developing new seeds that can grow in tougher conditions and resist pests and disease. And it will focus on African crops, an area of research often neglected by the private sector due to a perceived lack of potential profits, but that holds tremendous potential, in fact, for ending global world hunger. But we have to fight hunger without accelerating climate change. Today, feeding the world, as you well know, emits nearly a third of all greenhouse gases, a number only set to rise as the global population approaches 10 billion. So we must fundamentally change food systems to produce more while emitting less. To help do that, the United States is launching new partnerships with the private sector, innovation sprints of the kind that Secretary Vilsack has spoken about that will reduce the climate impacts of producing vital crops. Together with Bayer Crop Science and the International Rice Research Institute, our first innovation will help scale the sustainable production of rice. Currently, the flooding required to grow rice produces methane, a climate pollutant 30 times more powerful than carbon dioxide, making rice cultivation one of agriculture's largest contributors to greenhouse gas emissions. New rice varieties and seeding methods reduce the need to flood the soil, saving water and reducing methane emissions by at least 30%. The second innovation sprint brings together USAID with major chocolate producers and retailers like Olam Food Ingredients, Nestle, Mars Wrigley, Costco, Mondelez International, and Blommer to more sustainably grow cocoa. Cocoa cultivation has long been a key driver of deforestation, which increases greenhouse gas emissions as well. These companies will commit an initial $7 million, matched by another $7 million from USAID, to help smallholder cocoa farmers in Ghana and Cote d'Ivoire increase yields and incomes while preserving forests and biodiversity and increasing carbon storage in trees planted on and around cocoa farms through agroforestry. I'm also pleased to announce here a new effort to reduce emissions of methane even further. In partnership with the State Department, USAID will invest $12 million in a methane accelerator program that will fund methods to cut methane across our programming, focusing specifically on cultivation of rice and livestock, two of the biggest sources of emissions. To all of our current and future partners in AIM for Climate, I urge you all to put smallholder farmers at the heart of the work, an effort that won't just lift entire communities out of hunger and poverty, but an effort that will help us end hunger worldwide. And I urge you as well to take this opportunity to reform the way and the ways we grow our food, to feed the world today in a way that will preserve our shared tomorrow. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Administrator. I now have the pleasure to introduce Dr. Maria Helene Semedo, who is the Deputy Director General of FAO. Dr. Semedo is an economist and a politician from Cape Verde. She is a leading expert in global development issues, and she has worked in the public sector for more than 30 years. Dr. Semedo, please, you have the floor.
Congratulate the United Emirates for this, with the US, for this initiative, which has bring all of us together, and as you said, bringing innovation and bringing the private sector to stimulate innovative solutions. As it has been said, we need to feed a growing population. We are not doing it right. We are off track. To reach, we need to transform our agri-food system to be more resilient, to be more sustainable, and to produce more nutritious food. Is to be not in the quantities, the quality of the food we have. And we believe that innovation will bring the solutions we are looking for. Every year, low middle-income countries spend about 50 to 70 billion dollars on agriculture innovation. But unfortunately, only 7% aims to improve environment or limit climate. And this is not enough. We need to change this. No, more than ever, innovation must rise the interconnected challenge of food insecurity, climate change, and biodiversity. How? First, we need to produce more with less within our planetary boundaries. Second, we need to advance the transformation of our agri-food system. And third, we need to revamp our financial and our business model. This is FAO, why FAO work with partners to promote solutions for low carbon and resilient agri-food system. Solutions that need to be scaled up using available best technology and science, and that can be used and affordable to the smallholder farmers we are talking here today. For example, digital innovations such as drones, satellite imaging, remote sensor, mobile application help farmers and the governments to take smarter decisions regarding their agriculture, forestry, fisheries, policies, and practices. Maybe let me share with you an innovation that we are very proud in FAO. FAO has an office with the International Atomic Energy Agency. 56 years of cooperation. And you use nuclear approaches for food and agriculture. Just to give you an example, we use isotope technology in Nigeria, in Kankambar. We are able to increase yields 150% and reduce 70% the use of water. We just sent 2 weeks ago seeds to the space to see how those seeds will adapt in the space and how we can use them in the earth to adapt to climate change. If it will be successful, can you imagine how the smallholder farmers can have seeds, can be resilient to climate change, they can increase productivity, they can increase benefits. Let's hope that it will be a successful one. We also adopted recently our strategy on climate change and science and innovation. Those strategies, they work hand in hand because we consider we cannot adapt or mitigate climate change without innovation. To enhance innovative policies, finance, and business models that engage youth, integrate gender, and support indigenous people to build resilient ecosystems and livelihoods to tackle climate impacts. Innovation on data and information are also critical for decision-making in climate action. We need to bring innovative solutions and partnership. You talk about the need to bring partnership to the table that include the most vulnerable groups and communities. So let's accelerate aim for climate investment, for smallholder agriculture, and put climate action at the heart of our agri-food system at COP28 and beyond that. Count on FAO as a knowledge partner and the best of success for our initiative. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Semedo, for your Thank you very much, Dr. Semedo, for your inspiring intervention and also for the innovative work that you've been doing. We very much look forward for the seeds to come back from the space so that we can test them on the ground, and the CGIAR will be there, to welcome those seeds on the ground. I now have the honor and pleasure to introduce Mr. Enoch Shikava of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Dr. Shikava is the Interim Director for Agriculture Development and the Foundation based in Seattle, Washington. He leads the foundation's work to reduce poverty for millions of farming families in sub-Saharan Africa and South Asia. His career spans the public and private sector as well as the philanthropy, working directly with farmers and with the agriculture industry. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Enoch. Please.
Good afternoon. It's an honor for me. Good afternoon. Hello. It's a great honor for me today to be joining all of you. Firstly, I'm super excited that finally I can see the word smallholder farmer. Because at times we just talk about agriculture and we don't mention specifically where the biggest needs are. I'm excited firstly because I'm a product of smallholder agriculture. Born on the farm, understand smallholder agriculture. Secondly, of all the $650 billion that is allocated for climate change, less than 2% is flowing to smallholder farmers. So finally, to start to talk about the particular conditions of smallholder farmers makes me very excited. Secondly, science is clear. This year's IPCC report was so eloquent and was talking about the urgent need to shift from near-term incremental solutions to transformational adaptation. And this is very important because the economies that contributed the least are suffering first and they're suffering hardest. Someone talked about the Horn of Africa. I think it was Ambassador Powell. I've never seen anything like this in my 35 years of agriculture in Africa. To have 4 years of back-to-back droughts and 22 million at the verge of starvation and 1 million people fleeing homes to look for food and water. And do you know who's feeling? The one who's living are the men. And the one who remains are women and children. These economies, they depend on smallholder agriculture. 50% of the populations in these economies are employed by agriculture. 30% of the economies, their GDP, comes from agriculture. And that agriculture we talk about is driven by the smallholder farmers. And rarely do we start to talk about their peculiar needs, their specific needs. And that's why it is very, very, very important that even as we continue to announce things, which we started to do in 2015, we announced $100 billion. Last COP, a lot of announcements. I'm coming here not to only announce, but to talk about action. And I suggest next year when we meet, let's talk about what we have done with all these announcements. I think we need to find some metrics by which to measure adaptation, because it may mean different things to many people. And some people may want to shift resources from other areas and call them adaptation. So there's no zero-sum thinking. I think smallholder farmers, they deserve specific attention in terms of what will drive progress and livelihoods. So that's why at the Gates Foundation, this week we announced $1.4 billion over the next 4 years to be spent in 3 areas. Firstly, we need to accelerate innovations in crops and livestock. We need to increase the pace of developing the innovations. The second area is building country systems. We need an enabling environment for the public goods to flow into the countries. Third area, we need to elevate the voices of those who are mostly impacted. So we work on the public global goods to make them accessible and affordable. Country systems, very robust to come up with early warning systems for early action. And then data and evidence from those who are mostly affected by these headwinds. That's why at the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, we are launching the Grand Challenge for Climate Adaptation in African Agriculture. The focus is informed by the survey that was done by 1,200 African scientists by Grand Challenges Africa. and researchers based on the African continent can apply for this award focused on strengthening agricultural-related risk management processes and adaptation prioritization. That's why the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, we are also very excited by the potential of the M4C and its progress to date. We met in February this year in Dubai. And I think that is going to be the place for our COP28. And I'm excited that we can now start to talk about the progress and the impact for those who are mostly affected. So, lastly, but maybe most importantly, we need to support global research. That's why we are excited to continue to support the CGIAR. This is the only global machine that we know that is well positioned to develop solutions for smallholder farmers with their network of centers. And they're working in some of the crops which are called minor. I've heard people say minor crops, orphan crops. And I say, they are minor to who? Millet in Niger is not minor. Cassava in Nigeria is not minor. Sweet potato in Mozambique is not minor. It is minor for other people, but it is major for the people in those areas. You need an organization that understands the local context. And that's why it has been proven. Every dollar that you put in CG, you get $10 in return. CG is underfunded. 1 billion today, it must be $2 billion. And I'm calling upon other funders to join us in making sure that next year by COP28, we'll be talking about progress for smallholder farmers. I thank you.
I wish to thank you very much, Anok, for your intervention. And as the DG of one of the CGIAR centers that looks after neglected crops and minor crops, we will be coming to have a conversation. Now, allow me now to introduce Honorable Veronica Ndutu, who is the head of the climate change unit at the Kenyan Ministry of Agriculture and Livestock Development. Please, we have the floor.
Thank you so much, the moderator. I'm giving these remarks on behalf of the Cabinet Secretary for Environment in Kenya, who is in charge of the climate change issues. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, Kenya has a broad objective of implementing actions towards attaining 100% food security and nutrition through inclusive, innovative, collaborative, and dynamic food systems based on data-driven decisions to ensure access to diverse diets from climate-resilient production systems. To achieve this ambition, the country needs to enhance agricultural productivity through sustainable use of agricultural soils, water, and biodiversity, reduction of post-harvest losses through efficiency in food processing, storage, and distribution. Last year, Kenya signed up to the Coalition on Agriculture Innovation Mission for Climate, IM4C, to join other partners in the world in catalyzing great investments in agricultural research and development innovation, and to underpin more rapid and transformative action through science-based, data-driven decision and policy making. Through this, Kenya aims to demonstrate collective commitment to investment in agricultural innovation and research development for climate-smart food systems by its participants. Establish a framework for discussing and promoting priorities in order to amplify participants' investments. Identify scientists as focal points for international cooperation on climate-related agricultural research and development. Some of the identified pathways to achieve this include which the innovative sprints need to align to include use of digital solutions to support CSA initiatives, including early warning systems, soil health, and agricultural enterprises management. Models of extension services provision to the last mile. Value addition, food safety standards, facilitating trade, and promoting consumer education. Tomorrow Now, an NGO operating in Kenya, has been working with the Kenya Agricultural Livestock Research Organization, KALRO, in Kenya, since the beginning of the year to support advisory SMS services and the Kenya Agriculture Observatory platform for smallholder farmers, leveraging on tomorrow.io app. We are proud to note that one of the innovation sprints being launched in this forum is to support the initiative that I have just mentioned, to scale up more farmers, to more farmers and engage more closely with smallholder farmers to ensure robust climate services are delivered sustainably. This is an example of climate adaptation partnerships that can successfully impact to the lives of millions of farmers and position Kenya as a case study for leveraging and scaling up next generation technology, and most importantly, serve the vulnerable farmers. I therefore call on strategic partners to join Kenya in supporting smallholder farmers adapt and thrive in the changing climate. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for your intervention. We have two more speakers. I now have the pleasure to invite Ms. Justina Nixon Saintil, who is the Vice President and the Global Head of Corporate Social Responsibility at IBM, where she manages initiatives that enable IBM and its employees to transform their altruism into reality. Previously, Ms. Nixon served as Director of Corporate and Social Responsibility at Verizon, where she served simultaneously as Verizon liaison at the White House, Office of Science and Technology, among other agencies. Let's extend a warm welcome to Ms. Justina Nixon. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really an honor to be here on behalf of IBM, and we are very proud of our partnership with AIM4C. I want to start by talking about the power of partnerships. Secretary Vizlak mentioned it earlier, but at IBM, we really believe in the power of partnerships to provide the expertise that's needed when we consider the technology and the solutions that we need to deliver to communities. Only with partners can we co-create, and only with partners can we really deliver the best solutions to vulnerable communities to have a real impact in those communities. We also have the technology to really make a lasting positive impact. but we need partners to provide the local insights and to understand what the populations need, especially smallholder farmers. And that's why IBM is working to provide this support to local and regional organizations across the globe in partnership through AIM4C and through our innovation sprint, the IBM Sustainability Accelerator. The IBM Sustainability Accelerator is a pro bono social impact program that applies IBM's technologies such as hybrid cloud and artificial intelligence, along with our expertise to help scale the products and solutions of nonprofit organizations and government entities. And our focus is on vulnerable communities that are the most impacted by environmental threats, especially climate change. I'm proud to talk about the progress we've made since we announced our partnership earlier this year. And over the last 4 months, we have been working with great partners across the globe to really have an impact with smallholder farmers. First, working with the Nature Conservancy India, we are already testing a solution using a crop burning platform and dashboard and an app. We have promoted this solution to over 8,700 farmers in the country. Working with Plant 21 Foundation in Latin America, we are piloting a solution with 100 farmers in Costa Rica to help them manage their crops effectively and more sustainably by developing a customized mobile app that leverages our data, especially our weather data. This will extend to farmers in Ecuador, Guatemala, and Colombia next year. We are working with Heifer International to equip farmers in Malawi with weather and crop yield forecasts and decision support services for farm operations. And we have an initial solution focused on text message-based sharing of agricultural insights that 150 farmers are currently testing. With Deltares, we are helping farmers and other professionals concerned with water quality to measure nitrate levels in water sources. We are actively providing actionable recommendations for the global nitrate app community, which is more than 25,000 people. And finally, we are working with Texas A&M AgriLife in the United States to help agricultural communities in arid regions by developing a tech solution that provides when to water decision support to farmers. Our goal here is to make sure smallholder farmers have the access to data so that they could increase crop yield, they could increase income, and they could really focus on being sustainable. So this is all possible because of the power of partnerships. And we expect that these projects will evolve, and we will continue to invest in these 5 projects, which is a $10 million investment by IBM. And we are engaged with these organizations over the course of 2 years. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for your intervention. I now have the pleasure to introduce Ms. Georgina Campbell-Flatter, who is the Executive Director at the TomorrowNow.org, which is considered a catalytic not-for-profit that is committed to helping vulnerable communities adapt to the climate change. Please, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, everybody. Last but not least, hopefully. Okay. All right, so thank you so much to our hosts. And it really is such an honor to be here among so many honorable guests and climate action leaders. My name is Georgina, and on behalf of TomorrowNow.org team and our partners, we are thrilled to use this platform to announce our Aim for Climate Innovation Sprint today. So of course I stand here representing all of our Innovation Sprint partners, Tomorrow.io, Calro, CGIAR, Mercy Corp AgriFin Sprout, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. And together, we are on a bold sprint. to reach 20 million farmers by 2025 with next generation weather intelligence and lay the foundations to empower and sustain access to 100 million farmers by 2030. Bold, yes, but absolutely necessary because we need to act now. We need to increase food production by 70%, 7-0 by 2050 to feed our growing population. And the 570 million smallholder farmers who produce 60% of the global food output today, they are the least equipped. They are the least equipped to adapt and thrive in our changing climate. Now, decades of pilots show that with improved access to weather forecasts, we can increase farm level productivity by up to 168% and farmer level profit by 56%. But the value of these programs have up to now stopped with the funding cycles. And so it's time to do things differently and fast. The good news is that we're already well on our way with this innovation sprint. Commitments can feel empty without action, but I can tell you that there is focus, persistence, passion, and most importantly, partnership behind this sprint, and it's leading to rapid traction. So where are we today? By leveraging the catalytic capital from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, we have helped scale agri-weather services in Kenya from 200,000 farmers to 1 million smallholder farmers in under 6 months. How? Partnership. We're building on established farmer-facing action of Kenyan partners, including CalRO, through developments invested such as KSAP, One Acre Fund and Sprout. We continue to rapidly improve the crop, seed, and weather science by working very closely with our CGIAR partners and the local Met offices like the KMD. And we've engaged the private sector, Tomorrow.io, who are driving a generational shift in the quality and cost of forecasts globally through their next generation modeling and space radar satellites. So we are leveraging $80 million in private sector weather investment and combining it with $20 million in philanthropy to make sure that these next generation benefits of weather intelligence empower farmers right now. So together, by early next year, we will have reached 2 million farmers. By 2025, 20 million farmers. And by 2030, 100 million farmers. So let me end by bringing us back to the massive opportunity here. $20 million in transformative philanthropy for 20 million farmers. That's $1 per farmer. And for every dollar, we are leveraging 4 times as much from the private sector and creating at least $70 in value per smallholder plot per season. So for 1 million plots, that's $70 million, and there's a lot more than 1 million plots across Africa. We can shift GDPs. So remember, studies show a 56% increase in farm level profit with better weather forecasts. Now is the time to operationalize these services. We have no excuse. Weather can drive people into poverty. Weather intelligence through partnership can lift people out. And by working better together, we are sprinting faster and smarter to take urgent climate action for tomorrow, right now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the sprint that you gave us over the past few minutes. I have to admit that I am now be able to better, have a better grip on what the sprint spirit is all about, the way you've actually explained it, which is really amazing. So I have the difficult job of having to summarize, but I will not do so. I will basically maybe just mention some of the key words that I've listened since the beginning of this session. there was a lot of emphasis on action to end hunger. There was also strong calls to build resilient agri-food systems, investing in supporting smallholder farmers. Repeatedly, every single speaker has mentioned strongly the smallholder farmers and the need to emphasize them. We've heard the value of investing in the CGIAR, the very strong pledges both from the US and from the philanthropists from the Gates Foundation, and the value that they see in the system as the largest global public research organizations. We've heard a number of sprints from a various number of speakers, and we hope that we will soon get the final picture and what will be the winners. We've heard very encouraging words about the GRAD challenge, the 1.4 billion announcements from the Gates Foundation. I'm particularly interested because of these neglected crops, very important for the drylands. IBM, partnerships, arid areas, that was really a very special emphasis from the beginning, and the decision support systems, again, very, very important for this part of the world. The excitement that tomorrow now has brought into the conversation, being the last speaker, I think has brought in a lot more energy in the room. Probably we could have made that a middle one. But, without further ado, I want to thank you all for your participation. Apology for going about 11 minutes beyond the time. Thank you so much for your participation, and have a good afternoon and bonne continuation for the rest of the COP. Thank you very much.